I don't even know what the time limit is on it. Do you?
I don't think there's a time limit on High Rocks. I don't think there's a cap.
Because I think CJ said his flight is until like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Oh, it's all day.
I know that many fucking people are
Yeah.
doing it. That's crazy.
So I saw something, and I don't know if it was between competitors and spectators, but an event had 22,000 tickets sold.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Is that competitors or is that competitors and like audience?
I think it had to be both.
Right.
It might have been like the World Championship or something like
Yeah.
that, and they hold it in Europe. But yeah, so there's like this big debate online between CrossFit and High Rocks, who's bigger, who's going to be bigger, but like objectively, High Rocks is way bigger than CrossFit already, which is crazy. I think it's a really good competition. The same reason that you said, because it's the same thing every single time, so you can measurably tell, have you gotten fitter or not?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it, like, I never understood. I mean, I'm not in the CrossFit world, so I don't really know, but I never understood, like, who came up, like, with the workouts. Like, who's the guy that does that? Or is it just some guy with a bunch of kids that said, hey, what'd you guys do at gym class today?
yeah.
And be like, all right, that sounds great. We're going to push a sled and then we're going to run and we're going to do handstands.
Put a bunch of random shit together. Yeah.
And like when it was in Wisconsin, I thought it was great for anything for Wisconsin is great. Like that pumps up money and stuff like that. But like the cheese like thing that they had, I was like, that's kind of weird. It's like a cheese. God, what was it? God damn it, I forget. It was just kind of corny. You know,
like
everything.
events?
Yeah, it was an event with like a cheese thing. I forgot. I don't know what it's called. I stopped watching it when it got corny.
Yeah.
But like jumping over the hay bales and stuff like that, or straw
there's
bales.
some like weird shit that they put in there. I agree though with the events. It's like there's a lot of terminology that's used in CrossFit that really bothers me. Like they say transfer of skill, which is something that like in sports and like, you know, sports world, like actual strength and conditioning, that would mean that like whatever you're doing is going to directly transfer to something else, right? But like I heard an analogy of them saying CrossFit would benefit a fighter because of the transfer of skill. And I was like, I don't even get what you're saying. And then the other thing is stimulus. That's another big thing that they say. But like they're always talking about this is the stimulus that you want to get from this workout. However, like none of the workouts are repeated. So I don't understand.
So how do you
get a stimulus from?
Right.
Like I don't know. Like a stimulus doesn't happen. You get stimulus from one workout, but does that mean that it's doing anything productive towards another goal? You get what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Workout
There's no consistency to the stimulus, right?
Yeah.
So what is that? That's like the SAID principle. Specific adaptations to impose demands.
Yeah.
So you must impose
right
repeatedly to get, the stimulus, right? Yeah. That's weird. Never thought about it. Unfortunately, I think anything like fitness-wise that anybody gets behind is great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit what it is. I just never got into CrossFit.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw you doing it and stuff like that when you first got into it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's busting his ass. And you were super passionate about it. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And then now you're kind of finding your own way and your own way around it. Yeah. And I think that's even better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like hating on a certain form of fitness in any realm is kind of stupid, because as long as it's helping people get healthier, and, like they're having fun doing it and getting better at life, like I think that's a positive.
Yep.
In any way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the cool thing a long time ago was to hate on CrossFit just because it was
so popular. Yeah.
And now I feel like people are coming around to it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, it lasted longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I've been around for so long, I've seen all the fads.
Yeah.
And I have seen them repeat themselves many times and get remarketed and, whatever. And this stayed around. I mean, basically, it's strongman.
Yep.
With Olympic lifting, some lighter weight, They got sled pulls. We got sled pulls. They had the Atlas stones and sandbags and, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, But, you know, there's obviously a gymnastics component to it that we're not going to do. And yeah, I can't believe how long it lasted. But everybody looks amazing on TV.
I know. Yeah.
So that really sells it.
That's like key in marketing for sure.
Oh my God. I mean, the most beautiful human beings are right there. It's like women's pole vaulting.
Right.
It makes, you know, you're like watching.
Or volleyball.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are the most watched things? It's like women's pole vaulting, volleyball, and then 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to ask you some stuff about, like, how you've created this culture here at the gym. Because, like, it's a Sunday morning for anybody watching or listening to this, and you had like 10 dudes all in here on a Sunday. How do you think, like, how did you start doing this, that people want to show up all the time?
I think I just, there's a couple people that couldn't come on some regular days and they were competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you do it early enough, I'll come in, meet you, and coach you up, and we can go through it, and it can just be us squatting and, you know, going through it. And the only reason I say early enough is because, like, nothing's happening at home, right? So I'm really not much of a sleeper, so might as well come in. And then it just grew from there, and the guys started, I think, like, competing against each other, which was really good.
Yeah.
And then they would talk about it during the weekday. And then people would be like, oh, can I come? And that's pretty much how it started. And then I think we had like the height of it, we had 14 competitors. And then all 14 competed in one meet.
Jeez.
It was pretty cool. And then I wrapped everyone's knees and, you know, stay there and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was great. And some people it was their first time, some people it was their 8th time, some people, you know, whatever, which is nice because everybody helped each other out. And then I think when people help each other out, they get a little bit more respect for each other, and they just kind of hang out with each other. And I mean, some of my best friends are here. And I mean, you and I became friends over the years, right? So it's one of those things. I'm pretty fucking lucky to get up every day and just hang out with my friends. Isn't that? It's wild.
Yeah.
And I hope other people feel that way when they're here.
Yeah.
Like they're just hanging out with their friends, lifting weights, you know, being encouraged by others, and just always trying to get better. And not everybody's got the same goal, right? But you don't have to have the goal of like lifting as much as you possibly can. You just have something like, you just come here, work out. You want to be healthy for you, your family. Look good naked, right? Like nobody wants to take their shirt off and be embarrassed and be like, fuck. Man, you know. But
at least have some muscle on.
Yeah, something, you know, look better than the last dude that the girl was with. You know, that's always the best thing. And just over time. So it's like, I think we talked about it yesterday. One of my, you know, just in this building alone, it's like we're going on our 13th year just at this place. And how hard it was, like in the beginning. It was so hard, and had no money and lived that way for a lot of years. And then still the gym business isn't like, I still don't have money, but it's like something, it's now a job. It's a living now, you know, and before it wasn't.
It's hard to be a millionaire with
right, and especially I don't like sell anything except myself and the walls around us. But and then I don't know, and then it just kept going. But I was lucky, very lucky in the time when I started, that word of mouth was the main thing. It wasn't who's got the most views or anything like that, because I would have fucking failed. I have no internet on my phone. I don't have, you know, I'm just not that way. But word of mouth is huge, and you know, I got clients that have been with me for 15 years. You know,
there's a lot of people here since the last space.
I mean, I've known you since you were a sophomore, freshman in college or something. I mean, in high school. And
Wisconsin Barbell.
And we're still together now.
And
how old are you now? 31?
I'm 31. Don't remind me.
May 10th?
It's crazy. 11th. Yeah,
Damn it.
One day off.
Yeah.
What like kept you coming back though? Like, cause so many people I feel like will be on a pursuit and they give up after 6 months. Like that instant gratification. They don't get what they have been looking for almost immediately. But like you've been at this grind for years.
Yeah. I honestly, it's the only thing I want to do.
Yeah.
I knew it was my passion since I was 13. I'm really not good at anything else. And it was like, it was my only choice.
Yeah.
That was it. Like make this work or die or go, go broke and live on the streets, Sure. So it was like, that's how I felt. I was like, no matter what, I'm going to make this work.
How do you think, I think one thing that you do really special here, especially with the guys on Sundays, is that they come in, they get to lift weights and all this stuff. How important do you think going through that like brotherhood that you've gotten struggling all together is for people's even like mental health, like a lot of these dudes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important. I think it's super important that people are there for each other, and people have come here and they don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, people are hanging out with each other outside the gym. They become friends, It's people are, getting jobs with other people that are come here, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's super important to definitely form a bond with a bunch of the people around. But stress does that, right?
Yeah.
So when people are straining and being stressed, other people will come and pick you up.
Yeah.
And then that creates, is that trauma bonding? I don't know. I don't know if that is or what, but yeah, people will bond with you, and then, you just become friends.
Yeah, that could be what it is.
Yeah.
Dudes trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding? I don't know.
It's funny.
I know it's a thing, so I don't know.
I remember one time we were having a conversation, I think it was like a few years ago, and we were talking about everyone in here has daddy issues at somehow.
Oh yeah.
And when I don't remember if it was you or Dom that said it, but I was like, geez, dude, that is so
true, right?
Yeah, I almost feel like we're all in here trying to impress each other at some level just to get that reassurance that we didn't get as kids.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, very few have. Yeah, very few have a dad in their life or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but at least you got a bunch of guys around you.
Yeah.
That are the same.
See you,
Kevin. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about recovery for a bunch of these guys? Let's talk a little bit on recovery. What do you think, what are some of the principles that you try to teach people in terms of recovery? Because we got Bop in the sauna.
Yep.
You used to have the compression boots. I don't know if you've tempered or toyed around with ice baths or anything. What do you think?
So we did a long time ago when we had a lot of the football players here. We had a giant garbage can sitting outside.
Yeah.
And people would get in. It was just, ice and water, whatever.
Yeah.
We tied it to the pole outside so it wouldn't tip over. And the guys would go in it for a while, get out, another guy would go in it. And then one day I looked at the water and I was like, it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. The biggest thing is water, drink water, because I can't believe how many people don't drink water.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, our bodies are majority water.
Yeah.
Was 72% water or something. And then they're like, I didn't drink any water today. And I'm like, well, and the crazy thing is like my body hurts so much. And it's like, did you drink any water today? And they're like, no, I had a couple Diet Cokes.
Yeah.
It's like, it must be something with Diet Coke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or soda or
I was just going to
coffee.
say that. I always hear it's always Diet Coke instead of water.
Yeah.
And I'm just so confused how people I personally, I don't even like water. So I always have to put shit in it.
Sure.
Like Element or some sort of
some flavor.
Yeah, exactly. But I still you understand the importance of at least drinking it.
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand that it helps them recover though either.
Right. Yeah.
Dehydrated.
I mean, yeah. I feel like sometimes people are just like thinking I'm blowing smoke up their ass or something. I don't know. But water is like rolling out. I know there's like, I don't think there's really anything proven about rolling out at all. Yeah. But seems to work.
Yeah.
Like people are like, my shoulder hurts. I'm like, okay, roll out your lats a little bit. And they're like, oh, my shoulder feels better. And I'm like, so I don't know. Like those things, eating food. Like we had one of the boys here he's 18. So, I mean, he's 18. Yeah. So, and he's strong as fuck, right? Just naturally. And he's like, how many calories do you think I should be eating? And I'm like, as many as you fucking can. Like, just eat. And that's good. That'll help recover. But I don't know. You're more like into it than I am, I think. Like you're into ice baths and stuff like that, right?
I was doing ice baths for a long time, and then I kind of thought about like what's the best use of my time. And I felt like although ice baths, they feel good, I don't know if it's like the best use of like 15 minutes.
Right.
You know? Like, so you're in it for 3 minutes, but then it's like you like you hype yourself up for 5 minutes just to get in.
Right. Yeah.
You get in it for 3 minutes, and then after that you shiver for like another 10. You got to shower.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. By the end of it, I've spent 30 minutes and I only have 3 minutes of like productive shit, you know? So I'm like,
I never thought about it like that at all, but that's true.
Dude. Like, cause we had our ice bath, so we had two ice barrels. And then what we would do is we'd fill them up, clean them, fill them up, and then put them outside before winter. So that like just the cold air. And because there was a month where I paid $750 just for ice, just to do cold therapy.
Holy fuck.
And that's way too much money to spend on something that, goes away.
Yeah.
And so we'd put it out there, and then we were doing like ice baths in literally -15.
Really?
Degrees. Yeah, some days. And like, I also realized that at one point I was like, am I doing this because the actual benefit, or am I just doing this to like look cool because I'm in, freezing cold weather,
right?
Sitting in an ice
bath, right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I was like, although I did see benefits from doing cold therapy, it was like the net positive I just didn't feel was there because of the amount of time. And so now that I'm getting ready to do these endurance things, I'm thinking about doing it again, but I need it to be like worth the time to do it. You know what I mean? So like something I've thought about, I know that there's not much research on rolling out. I guess acutely it's supposed to help, like right before a session or like right after, it'll help just kind of break up tissue and lower inflammation. But something I've been messing around with the idea of is getting the Normatec boots for home, so I can just like feel good and then do work at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for me personally, I think recovery is mostly what can you do in the time that you have that doesn't take away from a whole bunch of other stuff in your life, right?
Yep.
So like sleep for me is number one, making sure that you get good sleep. So I have an 8-sleep cooling pad for my bed, and then try to keep the room at like a decent temperature, dark. And then what else do? We sauna 3 times a week. That way I can still be productive too. Like if I have to be on my phone.
You can be in it. Whatever, yeah,
I can do that. And then eating. Yeah, those are like the 3 things that I think about. Yeah,
I know a long time ago, my buddy Brian Highland, him and I were talking, and he's a trainer at a big box gym,
Yeah.
And we were just talking and about injuries and stuff like that. At the time, I think he was competing in Highland Games, and then I was competing in powerlifting at the time, I think. And it was a long time ago, anyways. And he brought up the good point of like programming, like you should be able to recover from the workouts that you're doing.
Yeah.
By just living your life.
Yeah.
And then slowly that programming gets harder.
Yep.
And you'll start adapting to that outside for recovery. And I said, well, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. You're just, if you're not recovering from the workouts that you're doing, no matter what you're doing. Yeah. Because a lot of people aren't going to do anything outside of it. you're kind of going to be fucked. You're going to go backwards, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that, what is that, Couch to 5K or something like that?
Yep.
I think that's one of the best things for people to do.
Yeah.
Because it puts everybody at such a low level
Yep.
that you can recover from.
Yeah.
And let's say you're a higher level person. Well, you can jump to week 7.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things, and I'm like, it's pretty good. I thought it was just a good idea that, a lot of people put together in their programming don't take into account where that person is right now.
Yeah. What do you think? Okay, what does that mean? Like, what are the metrics? So how would you figure that out? Because I think that something that I don't really know how to say it. So we talked about before that, like, you have to do a repeatable stimulus in order to, like, get better at the stimulus, right? So, like, what are the metrics that you would go by? Yesterday, for example, I did, for the first time in 2 weeks, I lifted basically, right? Just because travel and, we ran that 10K or whatever, so deloading, but lifted. And today I'm just like rocked. Like, my legs,
right.
Now I have to go run 7.5 miles after this. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, I'm not recovered at all.
Right.
But I think that, or do you think there's like a fine line between recovery and soreness and being able to perform still and make an adaptation, or what does the recovery look like?
I guess when somebody comes in, I ask them a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
The first week that they're here, I'm just trying to get a feel for them.
Yeah.
And I tell them that, like, listen, I was trying to get a feel for you. I don't know how you are at certain things. And they can tell me, whatever. But I usually just go off of, like, simple basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like a push-up. Let's see how that goes. Yeah. And then we go from there, and squats and lunges and, like, all that kind of stuff, And then I'm always asking them questions. And does that hurt? Where do you feel that? All that kind of stuff. And then like the next day I'm like, were you sore or not sore? They're like, no, that was pretty good. Then I'm like, okay, we kind of jump up a little bit from that, whatever. But soreness too doesn't mean you did too much.
Yeah.
Soreness, if it's debilitating and you can't do something that you want to do, then that's too much.
Yeah.
And then I would say you probably jumped in too much.
Yeah.
You have too much inflammation, and you have too much cortisol levels, and your androgen levels aren't as high as they should be, and all that kind of stuff. So you'd probably back it down. But man, I'm pretty bad at memory, but Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, I think, proved a couple things. He proved that you don't have to be sore to make improvements.
Yep.
You don't have to have a pump to get a muscle bigger.
Yep.
And other thing is, any program will work as long as you keep doing it and are consistent.
Yeah.
Like, those are the 3 things I think, like, he's like the leading guy that does all this shit, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you lifting yesterday, I watched you lift, and I was like, oof, that's going to be a rough day, And you have to, and then you have to run 7 today.
Yeah. 7.5.
That's a rough decision to.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for sure. I don't think I'm like breaking any PRs or anything today.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything. Maybe just do it,
like a flush out.
Yeah, get it done.
Yeah.
Well, I do think walking is really good for recovery, though.
Oh yeah, I do too. 100%. I think that's like a super underrated recovery modality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually posted on Instagram yesterday something that I've been thinking about a little bit, because I used to be really about, like, everything's got to be data-based, scientific, and, like, linear progressions, undulated periodization. Like, you have to use the same implement every week in order to make progress on something. And soreness, like you said, is, like, not a great indicator of, like, if you can perform or not. It's not a great indicator of, like, if you've actually made progress on something. I think one thing that it does do is it lets you know if something is a new stimulus to you, right? But so with that, I had been thinking about this. I'm like, because you do a lot of like conjugate style, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so I used to think like I liked conjugate, and then I moved more towards like, no, you have to squat the same bar every single week if you want to get better at the same bar. And then I was thinking, because all of the terms, right, like progressive overload and all this stuff is used, but I don't think many people think about the fact that, like you said, right, any program works as long as you stick to it over a period of time. I don't think a lot of people think about progressive overload in the manner that like just like you can progressively overload a movement pattern over time rather than just the implement that you're using.
Yep.
And that's kind of the idea of conjugate too, right? So you change, not necessarily implement because you're always squatting with like a bar on your back for the most part, right? But you're changing the style of bar, you're changing the direction or like the force curve and stuff. And so, yeah, yesterday I was just thinking like you can be more dynamic and make more progress, because over time, I think most people aren't going to stick to something if it's boring,
right?
And they get burned out from it.
Right.
It has to keep them coming back.
Right. You need, something different. They like, I think too, like mastery of the skill is necessary. So like, let's say somebody's coming in, they're like 40 years old. They haven't squatted in like 5 years, and the squats that they did those 5 years ago were pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So then I'll try to get them like, okay, let's master squatting or try to master the skill of squatting so we can move on to other things. Yeah. So like a straight bar, let's say they get proficient at it. Now we can do a safety squat bar, or we can do a buffalo bar, or we can do an ox bar, or we can just do something different and run cycles of that, or add some bands or some chains where they know how to squat already. So they master just the up and down motion, and now they know how to brace and do all that shit. Now we can move on and do something different. In the beginning, I do stick to like just one thing.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, whatever. And Ryan over there is rolling out and stuff like that, but he's a kind of a prime example of a guy that he had a lot of strength, but not a lot of mastery of the skill, and he competes in powerlifting, so a squat, a bench, and a deadlift. So we just kind of cleaned up his technique, and then he caught on to it pretty quick because he's athletic, he's strong, and he didn't have like really any injury. I mean, he's young, so whatever. So now we can do different bars. Today we did some reverse bands, and he can do that. Like, it's not a whole odd thing, but you're right. I mean, it too. Are you having fun? Yeah. Like, if you're not having fun and you dread squatting, I mean, and do you need to squat? Like, does that person actually need to do that? If they don't compete in it or whatever, no, let's just go do something fun. Or, you just want to look better, we can just do things that make you look better.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I think that's something worth talking about too, is people talk about like the most important lifts to do are like the big three: bench, squat, deadlift. And I'm kind of like, I don't think that any lift is the most important to do, because again, like if the person doesn't like to do it, they're just not going to show up.
Yeah.
Right? Like none of this stuff, like, I don't know. I think that, like you said, it has to be fun. People have to want to come back. They have to want to keep progressing in some manner,
Yeah. And I mean, if they choose like to try a competition, then they should practice those things that are going to be in it. But otherwise, if they don't want to do it, okay, why just do stuff that they like? I mean, we have a couple of people that don't train their legs at all. Yeah. Because they hate it and they think it's fucking stupid. Yeah. And they just like to bench, they like to do their back, and they like to do their arms. I'm like, all right, yeah. That's what you want. Yeah, that's your goal. That's your thing. Who am I to say? Yeah.
Get the Johnny Bravo physique.
Yeah. And they love it. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, no one, I mean, it's kind of true. Like, Ryan's probably got the biggest legs I've ever seen. And, how old are you, Ryan? 24? 26.
Put him in the camera shot.
Yeah.
Put those wheels in the
camera. Look at those wheels in that ass. And,
huh? Yeah. Come, right next to Kurt. Yeah.
And,
just look at that screen, see if you can
I probably guarantee you no girl is like, wow, that guy's legs.
Yeah.
But,
Those are big.
some guy with big arms and a sleeve on is going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
That guy looks good. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And those guys that don't train their legs, they are guys that they just want somebody to compliment their arm.
Yeah, for sure.
I
think that's kind of the progression of how most people get in the gym too, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I first started the gym, I didn't want shit to do with my legs at all.
Sure.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And then you turned me on to powerlifting. Like, that's how I kind of like got into it. But yeah, I was in the Arrowhead school gym after I came and trained with you guys for a little bit, and the only thing I was doing was trying to bench every single day.
Yeah.
That was it. Trying to hit 225. I remember one time I went in there, I had hit 225 for the first time at the old gym that you were at, and then I went into the Arrowhead gym the next day, and I'm like, I'm going to strap on 225 and show everybody that I can hit it. I failed immediately. I had to have people come and get it off my chest. It was the most embarrassing thing ever. Yeah.
And that goes to show, too, like, as you get stronger, you need less because you have to recover.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So then you get strong enough to bench 225. You can't keep benching. Would you weigh like 140?
Yeah, I think 160.
I mean, yeah.
Light. Yeah.
But you're a 225 bench then that's a big bench, but you don't have a lot of weight to recover from that,
Yeah.
And I guess that goes back to recovery. And then, I mean, you've come such a long. I think you benched 400, sub 200, or did you weigh 200?
No, I think I was 210.
You were 210.
Yeah.
That's a huge bench. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It was fun. Those days were good. I'm thinking about maybe someday making the return to powerlifting just to try.
I mean, it's a grind, right?
Yeah.
It's a grind, and it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things, as I don't know. I think being really good at anything is unhealthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like being a good powerlifter, probably unhealthy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Being a good CrossFitter, probably unhealthy.
Yeah.
Running long distance, probably unhealthy.
Yeah.
We had this conversation about running, and like, it seems to be running is the epitome of like fitness, longevity, whatever. And I'm like, I get it, why people look at it that way because of the marketing of running.
Yeah.
But also too, like, there's people who are fat that can run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And because if you're, but somebody's gone, like, let's say they pick up running and they run and they're gone for 2 hours. That means they were active for 2 hours, and that's good, right? Let's say 5 years, they're still into it, and they get their blood work and everything's really shitty, and they're whatever, and they still eat shitty because their excuse is, well, I run, I should whatever. And I'm like, running for such a long time is a way of like storing your body, teaching your body how to store your biggest energy source, which is fat.
Yeah.
And burning,
carbohydrates
and also muscle tissue and stuff like that. But it does help when people are a little bit overweight to run, because that time is movement, burning calories, and it's not them eating, sitting down, whatever.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a horse apiece.
It's more about just the activity.
It's just the activity, and activity is great. And usually they'll drink some water.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, run, do whatever.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that people try to make their extreme better than everybody else's extreme.
Yep.
Right. So like the CrossFitters are like, well, it's healthy because X, and then the runners are like, it's healthy because X. But I mean, you hit it on the head. Like, anything at the extreme level is not going to be healthy. And I think defining it by your chance of injury goes up no matter what sport you do. If you do it for an extended period of time, if you do it, really often, if you do high volumes of it, there's always going to be a chance of injury. That's probably not healthy.
Right.
And if you're working through injury with injury, that by definition is not healthy.
Right.
And then you're seeing a lot of like these endurance athletes, they're developing type 2 diabetes, and like they're otherwise healthy looking people. They're like skinny fat, that type of thing. And then you hear like, you have type 2 diabetes, or even Matt Frazier admitted that he was pre-diabetic by the end of his career.
Wow.
You know? And it's like, yeah, a lot of this stuff, like at the highest level, although they look good, they are otherwise seemingly healthy. It's like, yeah, their insides are not healthy.
Not healthy.
So,
yeah, it's not a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extremes, you know, but we all love it. You know, I've told Heather before, like for me, there's just something about like competition. You know, I have to do it. And it just keeps me motivated, keeps me on track rather than just like, if I just have to show up to the gym by my own device and just be like, I'm going to do a chest day today. Like, it just seems like retarded.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Competition does drive the best of you, you know?
Yeah.
Also drives the worst
For sure.
of you too, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I feel like the deeper you go, it's almost like a badge of honor of how unhealthy you can be.
Yeah.
Like I tore my ACL and still did this.
Yeah.
And other people will be like, yeah, I did this. You know, you're trauma bonding again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like a badge of honor of how wrecked you are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a weird way to think about fitness.
Yeah.
you know?
So yeah.
And
it's
a
like
weird
the David Goggins effect, right? Everyone's like, he tore his MCLs on that like 100-mile run or whatever, or he went to the hospital, he had a pulmonary embolism, and then he went back out and he finished the run. It's like, yeah, it's hardcore. It seems cool, but like, geez, dude, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy.
No,
I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it's definitely not for me. See you, buddy.
Later, brother.
And yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen that guy. I've heard about him. Again, I'm not on the internet much, but some of the stories of that guy is crazy. What he does, and I'm like, holy shit!
It's cool, but it's definitely, I don't know. I think let's do this as like the last thing too. What do you think about? We have a lot of high school kids here too, right? So what do you think about people looking at these social media influencers and like taking these like crazy levels of advice from people that seem to not really be transferable to the normal everyday person?
I mean, I think Dom and I talked about it a little bit too. It's like I don't think it's. I don't know. I guess it's hard because I didn't have it as a kid, so. But I had magazines, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh, I want to be that. You know, that's what I want to be. So the genetics of some of these people are just so easy. Like they're the 1%ers. Like you can't compare yourself to that. But if you do, you're gonna get fucked up probably, or or just get discouraged. You know, but. I don't know. What do you think about it? I mean, you're more into than I. Like, I don't look at anything really.
Well, I see some of these like guru people even talking about like their morning routines, or like, you know, they're like they have a 5-hour morning routine. You know, like,
right.
Like they wake up, they meditate, they journal, they brush their teeth, and they have like a juice breakfast, and then they're doing an ice bath and a sauna, and by then you're ready to start your day. Or like even these people that are like, I only work on 4 hours of sleep and stuff, and I'm like. This stuff is just so not practical for your everyday person, especially if you are trying to be healthy, fit, and live a long life, or at least a decent life. I'm just kind of like, I just wish more of the bullshit was kind of cut out and people didn't really buy it, because I guarantee a majority of these people aren't even doing their own thing that they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like saying it to get the views, and then like people are following them and stuff, you know? Yeah,
I guess I never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like. I don't know. I think it's just kind of like basic math to be like you're running on 4 hours of sleep every night for for 30 years or whatever, and you're somewhat, I don't know, you're healthy, successful, all this stuff. I'm like, there's something's got to give, you know?
Right? Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, the things that I do to do this job, I don't. I wouldn't suggest anybody doing this job. You know, like I think the national average of a personal trainer is 6 to 9 months they last, right?
Really?
I think it's something like that. It's ridiculous because like it's such long hours because you got to build a book of business, you know, all that kind of stuff, and it's hard. It's a hard job to get going at least, but in order, like, for me to pull the hours that I do, it's an amazing amount of caffeine.
Yeah.
It's an amazing amount of, like, modafinil.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're jacked up on basically Adderall and like caffeine and whatever. Then you got to bring yourself down as you go to bed.
Yeah.
So then you got to take something that to make you sleep, either NyQuil or a Xanax or something.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah, it's definitely something that's not.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I would say, don't do this.
Yeah. Well, I wish people were honest about that shit too, because it's like, yeah, definitely a lot of these high performers are taking something, some sort of stimulants to get them through the day. Cause
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't believe that there's any way. Like when I was 21, 22, yeah, I could, piss and vinegar. I wake up after 3 hours of sleep, drinking or whatever, and I'm ready to go. But as soon as I hit 25, I remember I was like, "Oh, dude, this
has changed."
Yeah, my whole physiology changed.
Yeah,
yeah.
Everything's. Yeah, I never even thought about people lying, but you're right. I guess the marketing is. I mean, all the superstars don't. On the commercials are not probably using the things that they're doing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I guess I never even thought about it. Like,
well, everybody's got something to sell you.
Yeah, I guess, you're right. That's what I was trying to say, but couldn't say it for some reason.
Everybody's got something to sell you, and it's not like we don't have something to sell people either. Right?
Yeah.
I just think that the better way is to be like, hey, this is exactly what we do. It's exactly what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I learned so much I learned something every day, right?
Yeah.
And I learned so much from the people around me. Mm-hmm. And one day, years ago, this guy's like, he's into microdosing LSD. And I'm like, what does that do? Like, what do you mean you're I don't even know. Like, I didn't even know what microdosing was.
Yeah.
I only know what taking is, like, whatever. It's years ago. And he's like, yeah, all these guys, like tons of IT guys take this, and people in art, and, tons of people are taking it. And I'm like, what does it do? Like, whatever. He sold me on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
And I did. And I was like, wow, this is a game changer. How many people do this that I don't know about, or they don't say it, but they do it, And I was like, that was a huge eye opener when that first brought to me, because then I went down the rabbit hole of like learning about microdosing LSD, microdosing mushrooms, and finding out what it does for like PTSD and like soldiers and stuff like that. But then also finding out what it does for like college students and like math and like getting your brain to like focus and living in the flow state and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow. And then I did it and I did it often and I did it and it was great.
Yeah.
And then I ran out and I was like, I can't find LSD anymore. Yeah. So then you're like, now what do you do? And
what was the most beneficial thing that you found from that?
That flow state of like always being present. I was so present, and I wasn't like chasing squirrels around or doing shiny objects. I was just very present, and I had a lot of I was very empathetic, and that really helped me help others. And I felt my job was like I felt I was doing a better job. And I got to feel that feeling. And then when I ran out of it, I knew what that feeling was. Like, it's not like it escaped me ever. I still knew what that feeling was. So I knew, like, when I wasn't present, it was very obvious. Or I knew when I wasn't very empathetic to somebody, it was very obvious,
Wow,
that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
And then modafinil, like Provigil, stuff like that, stuff that is not a methamphetamine. it's not an Adderall. Because I was prescribed Adderall for like 12 years, and it got me through school. It was great. I could focus on one thing.
Yeah.
But to do this job, you can't focus on one thing.
Yeah.
You'll be fucked,
Yeah.
I just stopped taking it, and then I found like Provigil and stuff like that, which is basically instead of a methylphenidate, it's basically an amphetamine, right? So a lot of shift workers take it so they don't fall asleep at work. It keeps you up, you know. And then that did the same thing. That kind of just, but you're able to multitask, but you're able to be not as tired either.
Interesting.
Like that kind of way. So that, caffeine, too many things.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
There's way too many things.
Yeah. In the next podcast, we should actually go over substances and like what they do for people. I think that'd be.
It's funny because the stuff too, like I learned from other people, and then I read a little bit about stuff, and there's so many people that had reverse effects from it. Like they take something in, which gets me amped, makes them sleepy.
Yeah.
Or like it's kind of amazing to see how other people react, right?
Yeah, that stuff is like so individual.
Oh my God, yeah. And like nootropics and stuff like that. The nootropics thing, love nootropics. I gave a buddy's golfing one day some tenepatine, or however you say it. And we had a couple of drinks, and he was like vomiting like crazy, and I had the best golf day of my life. It's like, I'm like, oh, sorry.
You set him up on purpose.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, maybe. I'm like, oh, sorry, man. I didn't mean that. Yeah. But anyways,
That's funny.
Yeah. Everybody's different.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, with that, I think that it's a good spot to end, and then we'll talk about substances and nootropics and stuff in the next one.
Sure.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe if you're new. Talk to you later.
Bye.